let's review some of that footage. My shirt actually got hung up for just a moment, but there are people putting her down for doing this training. That is the opposite of what we need in this community. Hello and welcome back. Lead instructor of the Spinova Spirit Training Group here again. Today we're going to be going over a little bit of a fun topic and a very controversial one in the gun world, actually. We're going to talk about recording yourself and the importance of context whenever you're training. Those are two specific things that we're going over. So number one, recording yourself. Can it be a little bit cringe? Can it be a little bit, especially if you're going out like me with camo and body armor and a helmet and stuff? Yeah, it absolutely can be. But recording yourself allows you to see your own failures and where you need to diagnose. There are a lot of times we make mistakes on the range. Maybe we fumble our reload or something, and we think that's the only one. But then, if we go back and look at a recording, we can see not only did we fumble the reload, but we actually had a bad grip on our pistol. So having a recording lets us go back and see these things. Now, when we are reviewing training footage, context is beyond critical. We're going to look at a recent video that came out and go over what we actually see in it, and we're going to evaluate the training that is being provided. A very important thing to note here, training is all about variable isolation and learning things in a safe and controlled environment. For whatever reason, I'm way too early in the video to say some of what I'm feeling. For whatever reason, some people in the gun space bash and gatekeep other people who are out getting legitimate training. So what we're going to do here, we're going to review an old video of me doing some training drills and stuff with this particular pistol, actually. And then we're going to review an extremely hot button video that's been coming out and circulating around a little bit. If this is the kind of content you guys want to see more of, me reviewing training footage and seeing what's right, what's wrong, or putting it into context, rather, giving some context to what we're seeing, feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to make this a thing. First and foremost, let's go over me shooting. Let's be critical of me. The context of what we're seeing in this video. I'm using this particular Glock pistol, for example, or for granted, with a light on it, unlike right now. But this muzzle device is a Strike Industries mash driver. And one of the gimmicks that it has to it is not only does it deflect your gases up and back to keep that muzzle down, it also pushes forward. Now, if the gun is reciprocating backwards, but a piece of metal is pushing forward, in theory, it is going to cancel out some of those recoil energies, right? So, in this video, am going to the range to test this. There are two things that I am testing in this specific recording. Number one, reliability. Is the pistol functioning? One of the common things with compensated pistols is you have to use higher pressure or heavier weight ammunition to get a little bit more recoil energy to allow everything to cycle. The mash driver claims it doesn't need that, so I'm going to test to see if that's the case. The second thing that I'm testing, is it okay to draw this from the holster? Whenever you add on a little bit of extra mass, this changes up the dimensions of the draw and tilt of the weapon, because now you have extra material there that can get caught on things. Not to mention, it's extra weight. And what I come to find out in this video, there's a little ledge of material here that the spring-loaded device gets caught on. So let's review some of that footage. Now, I believe at this point we're about midway into the video, a little bit beyond that actually here. So let's take a look at that. That muzzle device actually caught on the lip of the holster there and caused me to mess up my draw. Now, given the training scenario, I should have pressed on and continued the training. This is a great note to me. Great reason to record yourself. I should have continued the drill. Now, one thing to note here, I noticed that whenever I'm grabbing from the holster, I'm actually doing a thumb over the slide grip. So I'm actually grabbing just like this. I don't have an established grip as I'm coming out of the holster. It's okay. Whatever method works for you and your body type and your holster in this case. You do you. Just make sure you practice with it. Okay, so we got slide lock there. That's good. We're showing good function out of those few rounds. Let's see what else we got here. So that actually was a really quick holster draw, but I still had it hang up. On this particular part, I'm not going as fast as I can. I'm just more or less focusing on that consistency. I want to make sure my muzzle device doesn't get hung up. I want to make sure I'm getting correct repetitions before I go for quick repetitions. That was a good example of that muzzle device pressing forward. Now, reviewing back at this footage, one of the things I teach in my classes is to actually look your weapon into the holster. This is one of the areas that a lot of people mess up and actually injure themselves at. I am not doing that here. So, important thing of reviewing yourself in camera footage and stuff, be critical of yourself. Look for errors that you are creating. The only way you're going to get better is if you know where you're fucking up. There you go. All right. Might be a little bit hard to see there, but my shirt actually got hung up for just a moment. If I was looking down at it, I might have caught it. It's that shirt getting hung up, especially on close to the body holsters like this particular one. Your shirt close to your body can ingress into the holster or introduce other debris and stuff into your holster. This is one of the reasons we really need to be looking at our weapon whenever we're holstering it, if you can. By all means, learn how to holster without looking, but if you're safe, it's a controlled environment, go ahead and look it into the holster. Okay, got slide lock, got good reliability on that mag, that's good. That was interesting. So when the mag was pulled, slide went forward. And then on inserting that new mag and everything and chambering it, because thinking, you know, slide lock, maybe I just accidentally hit it, around ejected. So that was actually a malfunction, but I just treated it like, you know, stripping an empty mag, whatever. And we can see around in the magazine down here too. So didn't get slide lock. Something important to note about my specific grip and technique, I actually ride my support hand onto the slide lock slide release a little bit. So sometimes when it should lock back, my hand is actually on top of that. This is one of the more common malfunctions that I personally induce onto my weapon. It's not necessarily a fault of the weapon, it's more or less a fault of my personal technique. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make, so I'm okay with it, but it is very important to note. And this particular magazine here, number 7, this particular magazine here is a really salty mag, and it doesn't always completely empty, but doesn't want to lock back all the time. So that's something I gotta know. I believe this is where we start getting some malfunctions. We actually start to see either either the device is breaking in, or there's an ammunition related issue. We're not 100% sure which it is. So, and this is 115 grain, I believe, round nose ammunition or FMJ ammunition. There we go, malfunction. So failed to go into battery. And then the cycle's fine. So that's all we're going to look at on this particular video. Now we're going to transition over to the other video. So how I'm going to show you this is I'm just going to show you a few seconds of the video. And then I will explain the context. So let's show less. We're going to review some of this footage together and explain why that context is very important. So what you're going to see here is what appears to be an instructor or somebody taking notes, and an officer in uniform, obviously a training environment. We have a blue weapon, and we're already seeing some interesting things from this initial point. We have no text telling us anything else, but due to some of the lighting and the conditioning and uniforms, we're able to conclude that there's something related to an officer getting training here. So let's see what we see. All right, so we're going to stop right here. Right away, from those initial moments, all of the tactical Timmies and folks who know all of the tactics and techniques and are absolutely going to overthrow whatever government, all of them have already gotten into the comments, and all of them have shared their opinions about all of the ways this is an incompetent officer, an incompetent instructor, and this is the most stupid training ever. Remember where I said context to training is extremely important? This is going to be one of those things. So let's back it off a little bit and let's read the description that we actually have with the video. With some mild investigating and reading comprehension, we can get context. Tonight was a culmination of lessons over the past few weeks. Do they shoot or don't shoot? You should have seen their faces when we talked about implicit bias. They didn't believe it until we pointed out that so often, or so many of them, shot individuals who were unarmed. Their decisions to shoot was not based on the inherent danger, but rather based on the color. Lessons learned on how ugly we really are and don't realize it many times. Today, they went solo. In a few weeks, they will be going as a team. By looking into the New Jersey Cops for Kids, that should tell you that this is not a would-be officer necessarily. We can actually get even more context. Crazy. From here, we can see that this is a program that works for at-risk children to give them perspective, more or less, on what law enforcement experience and how best to engage with them and to expose them to perspectives they never would have thought. This is an absolutely beautiful and awesome program. I commend these guys for the work that they do. Getting perspective is one of the best things, even if it's not in your interest or your belief. Try to seek perspective from people you wouldn't otherwise engage with, and you might understand the world a little bit better. This is a great program, and I commend them for this training. So, under the context that this is someone under the age of 18, a younger individual, and they have been training for a few weeks, and it appears that one of the primary things they were training on is implicit bias. Implicit bias is a critical aspect that I'm not going to dive too deep into here, but you can tell yourself, I don't judge people based off the color of their skin, but then I can show you a few different images where you would absolutely judge someone based off the color of their skin. And we are able to prove that these types of things do exist. but knowing that they do exist helps us combat it. So implicit bias is an incredible thing. And in a training environment like this, you can hear that audio cue. They got sirens going on, they have gunshots, they have screaming. This person is working solo in a unknown environment. In theory, they haven't walked this earlier, I don't know. And she is in uniform, and she knows she's being observed, and she knows she has a camera on her. That is a lot of stress. If you've ever shot in competitive shooting, knowing that there's somebody holding a timer and there's like 10 other competitors behind you, it raises the stress level. So this young lady here is exposed to a lot of stress right now. Being a young individual, she probably hasn't experienced anything like this training prior to, other than the few weeks of lessons. Now, important note here, when they say culmination of lessons, that does not mean she learned for weeks proper grip, proper stance, proper technique. More often than not, in fact, what we see in law enforcement training, most of their training time is not necessarily on firearms handling. Should police officers be able to handle weapons better than they do sometimes? Yeah, they should. But most of their training is not abusing your freedoms or, killing people, de-escalation and stuff. So when we see culmination of lessons, it's likely that she was learning a lot of other things as far as like force escalation, laws and rights that we all have, as opposed to handling a firearm and maneuvering. Now right there, we saw her at a very close angle. Obviously, tactical Timmies, you would know to pull off that angle a little bit and observe from, cover and concealment a little bit. It's okay. This is a training iteration. She is going to review this video with the instructors and professionals after this performance to observe what she can do better. That is the purpose of recording. That's what we just did in the other recording. So then we could see some grip things that we would diagnose as an instructor. Hey, we need to work on this. This is going to be a repetition thing, but this is one of those things that the tactical Timmies online instantly just prey on. Again, this is a young individual who obviously has interest in learning these things and becoming proficient at it. She is acting. She is not half-assing this per se right now. She is doing the job, but there are people putting her down for doing this training. That is the opposite of what we need in this community. From here, we kind of see that wide angle approach. Weapon was pretty much down, not necessarily in a collapsed position. Taking the approach, I can't tell her. There might be a weapon in the hand, I can't tell. But either way, she's taking aim on the threat. And then we instantly sweep. We don't collapse the weapon in. Sure, that's fine. Again, these are all techniques that are much more intermediate and advanced. She is not at that level yet. These are the points where we learn those techniques and the important implications therein. Put the training in context. So here, her particular threat, important note, these laser pistols are absolutely awesome training tools, and these little laser targets are amazing as well. And having threat targets like this instead of just normal B-27 targets is also great for training opportunities. As they stated in the description, they're working against implicit bias, and several of the students started shooting just based off of what they observed, well, the color and stereotypes of what they observed, as opposed to whether or not the individual was a legitimate threat in the training situation. She made that hit. Important note, that target that she is shooting at in that particular case is not a full-size human target. That's about a half-size target. And the human silhouette on there is a little bit smaller than the half size. And the target that she has to impact is much smaller than that, about 6 to 8 inches or so. So she's doing pretty good. Yeah, maybe not using cover or utilizing these things as much as she should, but we can see from her eyes, she is looking in the direction of the next potential threat, and she is addressing it. Her weapon is facing the correct direction. Again, obvious threat here. She took aim. Important note there, she identified the threat, raised the weapon, took time, made sure she was going to make her shots. That would have been a hit in the head, and then she hit it again. Now, you do see the sweeping of the laser. That tells me as an instructor there's some trigger squeeze things going on. But again, context of the training. This chick is doing awesome. If somehow my small little channel and video here reaches this young lady, you're doing fucking great. You're doing fucking great. Keep it up and disregard those assholes in the comments. Again, she's making her hits. That was a hostage target. She's evaluating her blind spots. There are better ways to do it, but she is doing them.
That's it, 3 shots. Keep moving.
All right, and that's where the video cuts. So I can't stress it enough to you guys. Context of training is extremely important, and being able to review camera footage and a recording is incredibly important as well, because it shows us the errors that we didn't even notice ourselves. In this young lady's performance, are there tactical errors? Yes. Are there fundamental errors related to movement, grip, trigger squeeze? Yes. Is she a young woman who probably has never really held a weapon in her hand before, and now she's doing training that a majority of gun owners never get the opportunity to do? Yeah. She's a badass. And the people who are doing this for her are awesome as well. True kudos out to this team of folks that are doing this and exposing more people to this. If you have the opportunity to do threat simulations or force on force stuff for that matter, do it. If you can get a hold of a couple of dummy guns, yeah, you can empty your gun and point it at your homie, but don't fucking do that. Get some dummy guns. Get some dummy training guns. You and a homie, you know, are already going to be hanging out. Do this at home so you're not freaking out people in public. But do some training back and forth. See who points at who is the legitimate threat. One of the things we do in my class is I will simulate a potential threat or, you know, something to be aware of. And it's not always going to be a threat. Point being, know your context and record yourself and be humble. Understand that everybody starts somewhere, and commend the people who put in the work early. Even if there's an issue, the only way they're going to get better is by those of us that know better and are going to help bring them up. This is all I have for this particular video. Maybe it's a little bit more grim or anger inducing because there are shitbags out there that gatekeep, but point being, keep on being awesome. If you guys want me to review your training footage or see what you guys are doing and how that's going over, feel free to let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Shoot me a message or a link or I don't know, comment, tag me, wherever you want. And I'll take a look at that. You don't have to give me context if you don't want to, but by all means, context is important. Have a good one. Be safe. Get out there and get trained.